So first of all, a bit of an introduction for me. I'm actually dialing in from Singapore, so it's 6 a.m.-ish my time. Supabase is an open source Firebase alternative. So what we do is we're implementing the features of Firebase using open source tools. If the tool, we try to go with an existing enterprise grade open source tool. If it doesn't exist, we'll build it ourselves and then we open source it. So that means that we do things a little bit different to Firebase, but overall we're bringing if you've ever used Firebase, one thing you'll know is that it's really easy to use. It's really a great product. So we talked to a lot of engineers at the start of this year. A lot of them wanted to use, for example, Postgres, but they didn't. They simply just went with Firebase because it was just so easy. So our goal is to make open source tools as easy to use as Firebase. So here we are. We've got Supabase. So yes, we're open source Firebase alternative. We started this year, so we're very new. We're backed by Y Combinator. We just went through the first remote batch of Y Combinator, which happy to answer any questions about that experience as well, if you want. Yes, we're a fully remote team, so we're distributed around the world. There's about 8 of us at the moment, so still small, but about to start hiring quite a lot, especially cloud engineers. I know this is a JS meetup, but if you want, feel free to check us out and apply. We will be hiring quite a lot over the next 1 year. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is a demo of how to deploy a Slack clone. If you use Slack, which I assume everyone here has used Slack before, I'm going to show you how to build or deploy a very basic Slack clone in less than 2 minutes and using our system. I'll obviously go a bit slower so that I can explain all the tools. So first of all, I'm going to show you a few things that you can do with Supabase. Once you deploy, you connect to your database, but don't even think about it as a database because we make it very simple. So you can do things like reading and writing. In fact, I'll scroll down. So we handle the deployment of your database. Then we do a whole bunch of stuff in the middle. And all you need to do is build real-time apps. So you can do many things. You can get your data from your database using sort of like a GraphQL if you've ever used it. You can listen to your changes in real time. So any changes in your database will get sent to your browser. Creating, updating, you can use TypeScript. You can even install, if you use something like, let's say Webflow or just an HTML page, you can use it directly on the page. And yeah, so I'll jump into a demo. So once you've signed up, you just sign in with GitHub. You're presented with this screen, which is your projects page. And then you can choose, after you create an organization, you can choose to deploy anywhere in the world. And what this is doing, this is starting a project, but we're actually giving you a full Postgres database. We're in alpha right now. We've only been building, everything that you see has been built in 6 months. So that means everything's free as well, because there's bound to be bugs. Hopefully not during this demo, but if you spot some bugs, just punch it in the feedback up here and we'll fix it up. So I've already started a project here. The first thing that you get presented with is this query editor. Now don't worry about this because pretty soon we're going to have a table view, which actually I'll show you once we have some data. But the query editor, you actually can query your database directly from here. You don't need any other tools. You can just do everything from the website. The website's app.supabase.io. So I'm going to do one. And here I just clicked on a quick start template called Slack clone. And what I'm going to do is deploy a few tables. And then we have a link up the top here, which I'm going to go to. So first of all, I'll just run that. And you can see success, no rows returned. What that has done has created a few tables for me. And now I'll show you the table editor, which looks similar to...
for a quick second.
Yep.
So Firebase is document oriented, right? So there's no schema.
Yep.
I might have just missed how that corresponds to Postgres here.
Yeah, so yeah, you're correct. Firebase is a NoSQL store. We haven't made the exact same technological decisions as Firebase, but on purpose. So one of the things that you'll find if you search for Firebase online is that people love it. It works really well until it doesn't, basically. It gets to a point where it doesn't scale very well. And not scaling very well actually means a few different things. But technologically, when they first started, they were using MongoDB, and Mongo is quite young. So at the start, it meant that it just literally could not scale in terms of technology. We've chosen Postgres. It's completely open source. It's as open source as you can get. But what happens is if you migrate away from Oracle, you go to Postgres. So you can be confident that if you're using Postgres, you probably will not have to migrate off almost ever. You might have to do some things around sharding and everything. But yeah, because we know that it can scale, then we chose Postgres. And we're just choosing one of the best tool out there, the best open source tool. Now, our goal then is to make Postgres as easy to use as a NoSQL store. So as an example, here is one of the ways that we do that. You can set up, for example, tables like you would on a spreadsheet. You can import some data from a spreadsheet. You can upload a CSV, and that will create your tables for you. Postgres is a relational database. So for example, these messages here, in this table, they obviously belong to a certain channel. So you can actually dig in, you can open this message, then you can dig in, and then you can see which channel it belongs to. So you can dig into your relationships. And we're just making it extremely easy to use. And that means that you can be confident that in the future, you'll just never have to migrate away. Cool.
I had I was gonna say, I have a kind of follow-up that I guess is probably related, but the choice of not using SQL, but using something SQL-esque, is this also a sort of usability factor, or is it something more than that?
Sorry, not using SQL. I assume
Didn't you say
you mean we use SQL. So actually,
okay.
What you're seeing here is running on the Postgres database. And in fact, we give you, if you come to the settings, we give you Postgres level access to your database. Okay. On the front end, we give you an API. So actually, here's another very cool thing. You see that I just created these tables. I'll jump back, and you've got users, channels, messages. You'll come here, and we've auto-documented your tables. So here, channels, messages, users. I come in here, and you can see I can just copy and paste this code into some JavaScript code. This will, for example, select all the data within the channels. This will be able to select just certain columns. Now, this is auto-documented. So for example, I'll create a table here. I'll just call this demo. It's going to have some columns, some ID and updated at a JSON B column even. So you can put JSON data into Postgres. So kind of like a NoSQL if you wanted to use it like that. I'll just run that, and then I'll come back to the auto-generated documentation. You see here now it's got demo, and you can actually see that it's documented up all the fields. And once again, the copy-paste code works for this table.
Nice.
Cool. So just to get back to the Slack clone, I just deployed.
One more, just sorry, maybe.
Sure.
So, when I use Postgres, I use something like SQLize to define the schema.
Yep.
Is that sort of step necessary here, or how does that work?
Yes. So actually, you might, if you're using migrations or anything like that, that's fine. You would just write it into your code, and you'd connect to the database. Sorry if there are any new developers. Don't worry about this database stuff, just because you don't actually need all the database stuff. We abstract it away. But if you are a developer, yeah, you can literally just use whatever you want with your database, and then it'll appear here. It's just a regular Postgres database that you can use. So it's fine, spin up all your schemas. I will say one thing, at some point we're going to do two-way linking between Git. So anything that happens in your dashboard here, as you're setting up your database, you just link it to a repository, and we'll actually dump the schema and all the migration files into the Git repository. And likewise in reverse as you are doing it. So we'll have an opinionated way of doing migrations at some point. We're just at the moment haven't built that out. So actually what happens is at the moment you don't need any schema. So for any tools, because we introspect your schema. So as an example, if I jump back to here, we're actually going to do this where we select, for example, if this was channels, we're going to select all the channels, and then inside it, we're going to get all the messages and the text from the messages. So this is a relationship. You didn't actually need to specify this. We just auto-detect the relationship from your database. We know that, for example, the messages table might belong to rooms or channels. So you don't actually need to do anything but set up your database. Once you've set up your database, loaded it with data, then you're good to go. So what I'll do is I'll come back here. I just copied this link, and this takes us to one of the example repos. We've got inside Supabase, we've got an examples folder, and this one's called Slack clone. And what I'm going to do is just click this deploy. This will deploy a front end, which we wrote for you using Next.js, a very basic one. I'm going to put Slack clone 2. And then it asks for two things, a URL and a key, public URL and public key. So I'll come to my settings and my API. Here is the URL. This is my API URL, which I'll put in here. And then I've got a key. One is the anon key. This one's safe to use on the browser. And then a service role key. This one you should never expose. It bypasses all security. This one sits in security rules, and I'll show you how to use security soon. So I'll deploy that. So this one, if you've never used Vercel before, basically they're a kind of Jamstack platform similar to Netlify. In fact, you could deploy this code that I just showed you on either Netlify or Vercel, but we've got a one-click deploy with Vercel. So it's just even easier. I think it's going to take around 60 seconds. So while we're waiting, I will point out one other thing, which is our security. So we don't have any users, but we're going to allow users to sign up, and we've handled all the auth for you. Then it's not only that you want users to sign up, you only want to give them access to certain tables and certain rows. So we have created this thing where we use Postgres's row level security, and you can create very specific rules. So I'll show you the rules for the messages table. This one, for example, if you, we've got a bit of a bug actually. I just need to deploy later on today, but I can't click into this. But this one here, allow logged in read access. This rule says that if you're authenticated, then you can read any message in the messages table. This one is allow individual, probably this one is more interesting, allow individual update access. This means that only the user who is logged in can update a message that they created. And so you specify the rules on your database, and you never need to specify them in your code. They'll just propagate, as long as you're using our API, they'll propagate through. You can just forget about the security inside your code. It actually cuts down your JavaScript code quite significantly because you don't have to put in where clauses and filters and things like that. You could just put a rule in here, for example, that this user is only allowed access to certain on select. They might be only allowed access to certain rows. Then you can just do a select everything, and it will only give them the rows that they have access to. I can talk more about that later on if you want. But okay, as you can see, we now have the thing deployed, and this is just, I'm just going to sign up with testemail.com. In fact, you can do it yourself if you want on Supabase Slack clone 2.vercel.app. I don't know if I can put that in chat.
If you could put it in chat, we can all chat there.
More chat. That one, I think I didn't do with.
You sent that to me privately.
Okay, then
Send it out. Okay.
I'll sign up. Okay, great. So here now I've got basically a full Slack clone, a very basic one. I can create new channels, hello, and I can also write messages. Then if someone is logged in, if they're not, then I will do another one myself. But if I write in here, okay, it's also the nice thing because, well, there you go. We've got someone else logged in now, so they can actually write, hello. Great. And you can jump between the channels. So this is fully automated, fully real time, should I say. Got a few people in. And I'll just show you now in the back end what's happening. So you can see that we've got users that are appearing. We actually handle all the authentication, all the email login. It's very much set up for you. And then from the table view, you can see the messages are appearing, new channels are appearing. Yeah, so you can actually dig into your data again yourself. So yeah, this is basically it right now. So we yeah, have a very nice small feature set of auth, the table view. We've got the automated documentation, the automated APIs. You can really start building anything in terms of your front end. You can connect whatever JavaScript framework you want. So you can connect Vue.js, you can use Vanilla.js, you can put it onto an HTML page, Next.js. You can, literally just use it anywhere. React Native even, you can use it there. And at some stage, very soon, we are building out more client libraries. So I'll go to GitHub/Supabase. We're building out more client libraries. So right now, the way we structure it is that it's one client library is built up of 3 separate client libraries. And each one of these standalone works with an individual tool. And we're building the official JS ones, but we've already got people contributing to the other libraries. And it's worth me pointing out because these are all open source tools, and I want to give a shout out to the tools that we use. So this is a sort of architecture drawing of all the things that we use. Kong is an API gateway, open source, very cool. And then GoTrue is built by Netlify. It handles authentication, so letting people in. Postgres is a tool for introspecting Postgres, the database, and providing the APIs. That's a very, very cool product. I recommend checking it out if you just use Postgres. We actually employ one of the lead maintainers of Postgres. The real-time server is one that we built ourselves. It's built with Elixir. It listens to the Postgres replication stream and converts it into JSON and blasts it out over WebSockets. And then PG API is one we're creating for ourselves for managing a Postgres schema over a RESTful interface. Then, of course, Postgres, which is 40 years of technology, is amazing. It's worth checking out. And even if you've never used a relational database, I recommend getting into it and trying it out because it's just something that will make your life incredibly easy as you start to scale. Cool. So I think that's all for me. Happy to answer any questions.
That was
a question about is really cool about migrating, because we're at KiteMaker. We've got we use Postgres. We've got our GraphQL API sitting in front of it. We do a bunch of stuff to try to make our thing work offline, et cetera, et cetera. How would a kind of semi-mature product think about adopting Supabase?
Yeah, good question. So first of all, we're in alpha. Our push right now is that for the next 2 months, we're going to move to beta. At that point, we'll be stable. So I'll put that caveat out there. All right, so once we're out in beta, the migration is, if you're already using Postgres, is literally do a PG dump and then do a PG restore, and that's it. You'll have everything that you just saw here. The only thing that will be different is we have a auth schema. So we handle a lot of the auth. We segment out the public schema and the auth schema so that you can't access the auth schema from the front end. So you might want to, you might have to rethink how you do, if you want to use our auth, you would want to rethink how you do your logins and things like that, just to migrate each user. You could just do a trigger, for example, to migrate them into the auth schema. But then as well, you would want to use Postgres policies. So the auth that I showed you, the policies are Postgres policies. Very rarely used, funnily enough, but once you start using them, they're awesome. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool.
We'll keep our eyes open for when you guys are out of beta.
Yeah, if you want as well, if you're thinking about doing something like this, anyone's thinking about doing something serious, just let us know. We'll invite you into our Slack, as either into the community channel. We've just got a closed Slack, or we can do a shared org, and we've got a few people doing that, and we just help them. If you've got any problems, questions, then you can just ask us directly.
Anyone have any more questions? I mean, really, this is awesome. And you kind of answered my question, but I was going to ask so I'm in the process of building something right now, and I'm using Firebase. Is it worth it right now, do you think, from a production standpoint, for me to start to build with Supabase instead, knowing that my timeline for getting my product out is probably about that 1.5 to 2 months?
Yeah, we build pretty fast. So everything you saw was 6 months of building. So I would say we'll probably beat anyone else out of beta. If you've got something that you're migrating, possibly, I can just say that probably by December we'll be out of beta. So up to you, out of alpha.
I'm super greenfield, so I have the opportunity right now to switch around.
Then we'd love for you to switch in. Yeah, of course, it might take time. We had one person who converted from Firebase to, converted a full app from Firebase to Postgres. They had used Postgres a little bit before, took them around 4 hours, so it wasn't too hard. Eventually, we might write a tool as well to help people migrate live and run them in parallel. But up to you. And by December, we should be pretty stable.
So in the spirit of helping and supporting startups, since you're not charging anything, I guess you can't offer anything to the community. That way.
Hey, you, Jesus.
I mean, first of all, a couple of ways that, things that I would love from the community is from everyone here. If you want to, of course, we'll be employing people at some stage, but we're also open source. So I'd love for anyone to contribute. Follow us on Twitter, supabase.io, .io, but Supabase_IO, sorry. Then for us, what we can offer for the community is basically free Postgres databases, which I don't think you'll get in many other places. What you might find is some people are offering free Postgres, and they'll give you a schema within a database. We are literally giving you a whole server, and we're hosting all of these at the moment, and we're doing all the security for you. We've had people installing crypto miners and all sorts of weird stuff on it. So we're handling all the security and everything. So honestly, if that's a free Postgres database isn't enough to convince you, then I'm not sure what is.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, Paul,
Cool.
especially given the time. I know it's not super convenient, but I really appreciate it. And looking forward to seeing